Howdy y'all, it's Anna with Always Right, and in today's kind of special video, I am going through my June wrap-up of the books I read and listened to this month. At the end, I'm also gonna have a little vintage book haul, so stay tuned if you want to see that. They're just some really cool books I found. If you don't know about this app already, I would look into Libby, L-I-B-B-Y. It's a very interesting app that lets you access the digital files your library. For example, I got 4 audiobooks from Libby, and that's how I read my 3 books and I DNF'd one. It's free, you just need a library card, bada boom, you're done. You can access audiobooks as well as ebooks, but I did mostly audiobooks. The first book I read was a young adult fantasy pirate novel called Daughter of the Pirate King by Tricia Levenseller. Fun fact, I have had the physical copy of this book for a very long time. I just never sat down and read it. I knew it was like a reasonably sized book, so it's not too long, not too short. And I was like, oh, this will be fine. And I just never found the time to sit down and read it, but I found it on Libby and I was like, oh, hell yeah. So I listened to it and I really enjoyed it. The audiobook was about 7 hours unabridged. Basically, Daughter of the Pirate King follows the pirate princess, named Alosa, and she's captured by another set of pirates that are going to ransom her to her father. And of course, romance ensues. There's some fantasy involved, and it's a very fun read. I liked this book. It only took me about 2 days to get through it. I really did enjoy it. There's no like lewd sex scenes. I don't even remember there being a sex scene, but it was a very fun, very light listen and a read, I imagine. There is a sequel to this, and this was a debut novel. It delivered very well as a debut novel, and if you're not really into series, it does wrap itself up pretty neatly. I like how they left the option open for a second book, and obviously they did a second book because I think the second book is called Daughter to the Siren Queen. So, spoilers. It's very interesting. I thought it was a fun read. I would suggest it. Then the next book I listened to was The Princess Diarist by Carrie Fisher. This was an audiobook and it was actually read by Carrie Fisher herself. The first half of the book kind of talks a little about Carrie Fisher's early childhood / how she got into acting, and then a little bit into the first filming of the Star Wars movie and her love affair with Harrison Ford. I really liked the first half, and then around, I think, the 54% mark-ish, her daughter comes on and reads some excerpts from the diary that Carrie Fisher kept and updated when she was filming Star Wars. So that was really interesting. And it was mostly poetry, and I was like mowing my lawn at the time when I was listening to the poetry sections, and I was like, man, this is deep. Just mow my little lawn. There's about 40 minutes worth of poems in there. I think that's about right. And then it goes into tellings with Carrie again. She's reading it again, and she talks about some exchanges she had with some fans, but she mostly voices the fan. She never divulges her side of the dialogue, but you can kind of infer, and it's just really interesting. It's a look into how she saw her fans. Yeah, I would suggest the audiobook, but it was really interesting because she said some things in there. She's like, I wanted to say this before I died, and I'm pretty sure this was the last book she published and did the audiobook before she died. So it was a little heartbreaking to see that. Then the third book I listened to on audiobook was Fairest, Levana's Story. It is a companion book to Marissa Meyer's Cinder series. And it takes place between the 3rd and the 4th book in the series, so right before winter. I have never read or listened to any of Marissa Meyer's other works. I'm in a queue for Cinder, which is the first one in that book series. However, there's like 7 people in front of me. Let me show you real quick. There's like there's 7 people waiting for this one audiobook. It says it'll take about 14 weeks before I can get that book. And I'm just like, wait, there's 7 people in my county that want to listen to this book? What? I thought that was interesting. So I might just pick this audiobook up off of like Audible or something, or see if they have the ebook version and just read it from there this upcoming month. Fairest was a really short book. At the end, it had 3 chapters of winter in it, like in the audiobook. So this audiobook was like 4.5 or 5 hours. It was really short, really quick book. And I was just like, oh, I didn't know anything that was going on, but it was very interesting. And she explained it well enough that kind of by about chapter 3 or 4, I understood what was going on in that world and the setting of the world. So I enjoyed it, even though I've never read or listened to any of her other books in that series. So props to Marissa Myers for that. So for Fairest, I would recommend it, but I would suggest you read like Cinder or one of the other books before you get into Fairest. It'll give you more insight into what is actually happening. So you're not sitting there and going, wait, what? What? It'll make more sense that way for you. Now, the book that I decided to DNF is Fallen by Lauren Kate. And the reason I decided to DNF this is because it's book 1 in a 6-part series. So the audiobook is over 10 hours long. There's nothing like structurally wrong with it that made me go like, oh, I can't read this anymore. I can't listen, take it away. I don't want to get into a 6-part series book, if that makes sense. Because I have a lot of other books lined up for July, and I don't want my July to just be the 6-book series. I'm trying to read more kind of like self-contained solo books so that I can look at those, see how the author does it, and use that in my writing. So Fallen, I might pick it up later. It's just timing's not right for it right now, so I DNF'd it. So I ended up buying 4 books. Only 3 of them are really vintage. And the one that's not vintage is actually Wuthering Heights. I paid $0.25 for this. This is a book that I've had on my like to read list, but I've just never had the book. I've never had it like just available for me. So I bought Wuthering Heights and I'm excited. I'm excited about this one. This one I will be reading. This one will actually end up on one of my shelves back here. But this is, I think, like a 2003 edition. This is a 2004 edition. It's just really tiny and light. I like it. So if I go traveling, I can take this with me and read it in one travel. So yay! Now, this book is as old as my father. Not joking. This is Steamboat Gothic by Frances Perkinson Keyes. And I showed this book to my mom. She recognized the name and said that this author is actually pretty good. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. But this book is a book club edition. It's really cool. The pages have that roughness to it, so they're not all equal. I think that's really cool. I don't think this, oh, it does. This does have illustrations. Oh, look at it. I love illustrations. Oh, that's so cool. But this book is from 1952. See? It's from 1952. It's really cool. It's just nice. It's just so cool. They had red ink in it. On the back, it's really pretty too. I just think it's so cool. I love old books. See? And then it has, like, it's printed in the USA down here. It's just really cool. So this little baby, and the cover's in pretty good shape. So I'm gonna stop touching it because I don't want to hurt it. Put you down there, baby. The next book, I was so excited when I found it. It's Bambi's Children by Felix Salten. So I read Bambi. And if you've never read Bambi before, I really suggest it. I think the audiobook is pretty cheap. So if you want to listen to it, you can. It's a very short read, about 5 hours. But this book, I have to be very careful with it. It's from 1939. And one really cute thing about it is on the cover here, someone bought this for a friend, a daughter, and a niece, but they bought it, I think, yeah, but Christmas of 1942. It's so cute. So the cover has a little deer family, and then all the pages are just really yellow. They're really pretty. Oh, this is like one of the few spots that has tears, but it has all the illustrations in it. It's so cool. Here's a little ferret. It's just such a cool book. So this is one of my oldest ones, and this is probably one that I will be reading. I really enjoyed Bambi. I'm curious what he did in Bambi's Children. And then my last book is actually a very large book. It's a big book. It's like an old coffee table book. That's what I would describe it. It's Currier and Ives, Printmakers to the American People by Harry T. Peters. And it's really cool. Let me see if I can, let me open it for you and show you like what it has inside. It has prints from forever ago. It has really old prints in it. It's really cool. Like, look at all this. I love it. Now let me see where the publication date on this is. 1942. Here. 1942. Now, that is so cool. I absolutely love this. This is just really pretty. All of the pictures in it, all the pages are in really good condition still, which is fascinating to me. It has some text in it. Let me show you. It does have some text in it, but it's mostly all the plates from that company. Here, you can look, see. I think it's really pretty. I don't know. I had no idea what it was. The cover is not so pretty on the back. It's a little damaged, but the spine is nice. It's just a nice big book. So this is about an 80-year-old book right here. That's insane. So this is technically an antique. I'm pretty sure if anything, I think to be an antique, you have to be 75 years or older. And this is 78 when I bought it. So, yay! So I have two really, really old books. One that's as old as one of my parents, and then I got Wuthering Heights. And they were all $1/4 each, so I'm just like, done. I put them back in their box so they're safe. Just didn't want to hurt them. But thank y'all so much for watching. I had fun. I have pretty high goals for July because once I finish my book, all the time that I dedicated previously to writing will go to reading so that I can refill the well and kind of forget about my book so that I can edit it. Do a nice edit on it after 2 weeks of taking a break. But thank y'all so much for watching. If you made it this far, please click that like and maybe subscribe. I post videos Tuesday and Friday. Tuesday is writing vlogs, Friday is more kind of traditional author tube videos. But as always, let's get writing.